This is the Tulsa World Newsroom podcast. I'm Jason Collington, editor of the Tulsa World. I'm here with Lenzy Krehbiel-Burton, who has had a tough job the last few months covering the Tulsa Public School Board. There's been a lot of things happen, and she's been front row for all of it. Those meetings last a long time. And if you're wondering why you pay for the Tulsa World, it's for me to be able to pay Lenzy to sit there for hours and hours and hours at Tulsa's school board meetings. One of the most important beats we have here at the Tulsa World, and that's why we entrusted her with it. She's an incredible reporter who brings a lot of experience, and she's also a TPS mom. And so when she's sitting there at that meeting, she's not just sitting there for you, the reader. She's also sitting there as a parent. Lenzy, let's talk about the empty seat, the long empty seat on the board. It's been, this drama started January 23rd. Kind of take us from there. What happened that day and what's happened since?
Well, technically, it started before January 23rd. That is the day that now former board member Judith Barba Perez's resignation took effect. However, she actually tendered that resignation about 2 weeks prior. And the night she tendered the resignation, there was a request made of her to make it effective immediately. That really didn't go over too well. But since January 23rd, the District 2 seat has been vacant. If you're playing the home game, District 2 includes the campuses of Emerson, Kendall Whittier, McKinley, Mitchell, Owen, and Sequoia elementary schools. Unity Learning Academy, which is an elementary school, but slightly different name, Carver Middle School, Booker T, and Will Rogers College and Middle and High School. There's also a TPS charter school within D2 and one of the partnership schools, Phoenix Rising. So think north end of Midtown and part of North Tulsa.
And again,
predominantly.
Yeah, but the big thing I want to get to quickly is we're talking about some important schools. They're all important schools.
Yeah.
We're talking about a district not being represented. Why should people care about this? Why has this drug out from January 23rd to now? Why should people care about what's going on here, and why are we covering it?
Why folks should care? With that vacant seat, that means there are 6 folks on the board. That means that we've had routine items end in 3-3 ties, including staffing, basic staffing. A civics curriculum that was proposed to be adopted by Tulsa Public Schools was not approved because it ended in a 3-3 tie. Additionally, even though, yes, those are the physical campuses, I mean, several of those are magnet schools. So you have kids who go to school in D2, but they don't physically live in D2. Or on the flip side, they live in D2, they go to school outside of D2. So it's that particular district, just like the other board districts, has an imprint across Tulsa Public Schools. Yeah.
And unfortunately, this person who had the job wasn't coming to very many meetings leading up to her resignation.
Yes, and that has been pointed out. In the just under 2 years that Judith Barba Perez was on the board, she missed more than a dozen meetings. But that includes regular and special.
Right.
And which has prompted, there have been some folks who've said, well, okay, she's been gone, so this is no different than us not having representation. The argument that's been brought forward from District 2 residents in the board meetings, speaking during public comment and citizens comment is, yeah, you're right. She was absent. She did miss meetings, but she at least responded to emails. She would at least acknowledge that, hey, we have concerns. Right now, with that seat vacant, we don't feel like we have anybody we can reach out to.
Yeah. Yeah. You would say that this is kind of the reason that we keep writing about this is that there's a process. They started the process. And then what happened?
And it's still going. Under state law, school boards have up to 60 days to appoint somebody if there is a vacancy. And I mean, I've been on this beat since January 2021, and there have been at least 5 other seats off the top of my head with school districts around the Tulsa area that have been filled via appointment and that didn't necessarily take this long. I mean, heck, Catoosa had 3 in 1 year. At this point, they've had 3 meetings with agenda items to vote on an appointment, and each time it's been tied on it when an individual's name has been brought forward to potentially appoint. We had one member question the process followed, particularly after allegations were raised about criminal backgrounds, criminal records of 2 finalists. We have another board member who has made it clear from jump that he just wants the seat filled via an election. But again, have to at least make the good faith effort to try to appoint somebody. And I also think it's worth pointing out that if somebody is appointed, they would only serve through the 2024 election cycle, right, because of how state law is worded. And then the D2 seat would be on the ballot in 2024 for 1 year. So the way that I've explained it to at least one other colleague is that if someone gets appointed, it's like having a long-term sub almost. I mean, if this person chooses to run in 24, power to them. But they're not, there's no guarantee that they may want to.
And like every
get reelected in 24.
Right. And in like every single school in Oklahoma, long-term subs are kind of becoming the norm, unfortunately. So as I said, we've got people that look like they're going to get the job and then find out they have a felony conviction. Then we are going to open it up again. Right now, we're in the window of we've got 3 new candidates that you have just written about. Talk about who they are.
Yep, so the board voted Monday night to open the window back up for less than 48 hours since Tulsa Public is out on spring break all next week. The 3 new candidates, one is a former board member, Paul William Thomas. He served on TPS's Board of Education in the late 90s and early 2000s, including a stint as school board president. Rob Allwine is a parent of students at Kendall Whittier, which is one of the schools in District 2. And the third applicant, Jennifer Campbell, is a Booker T grad, again, a connection to one of the D2 schools within District 2, graduate of Langston, and currently a seminary student. She mentioned in her application that she is also the daughter and grandchild of teachers, so she's had hence the vested interest in public education.
Yeah. So we've got 3 candidates. Again, the vetting process was something that has been brought up because, again, the people that kind of made the final cut list were not qualified based off their background. Is there going to be vetting of these candidates this time? So
school board applicants are not required to undergo a criminal background check under state law. Now, the district has the board has the option to implement that, but that has been voted down more than once because the folks who were elected to the board were not subject to a criminal background check. When you apply, you sign a statement saying, I attest to meeting all these qualifications. But it's not necessarily the same level of scrutiny that, say, a teacher has to undergo to be in the classroom, or even a parent volunteer. It was brought up at Monday night's meeting that if something is brought to light, if a community member comes forward with concerns like with what happened with 2 previous finalists, the board will go into executive session with their attorneys to figure out how to handle it, basically. They did not want to set hard and fast ground rules ahead of time in case, just because you don't know what's going to come up.
Right.
You set hard and fast ground rules, then it may wind up not necessarily being applicable to that specific situation.
So since you've gotten this job, again, you were a longtime journalist before you came to the Tulsa World, worked for a number of other publications, had other kind of jobs. I know that drama wasn't what attracted you to this beat. What would you say is what attracted you to take on this job? Education for a long time has been something that we've really focused on. We've had incredible education reporters in my 2 decades of working here. And again, you don't write a lot of inside stories. You write front page stories on what we believe is a very important thing. And right now we've got the legislature legislature trying to battle out what we're going to do when it comes to public education. The future of public education is kind of on the floor of the House. What attracted you to this job? Because again, I've had to sit with you at some board meetings because of certain drama and security concerns, to be honest. Why this job? Why did you pick this?
A new challenge. I wanted a new challenge, although I honestly, when I applied, I did not expect to have to need a bodyguard at a few board meetings. I'll be honest. No, it was just an opportunity to try something a little different. And so far it's definitely been different.
Yeah, I would say that we've definitely had some interesting conversations at all hours of the day, trying to figure out how to, unfortunately, board meetings, and this is something that's going on across the country, open meetings of public entities have gotten a little off the hook a little bit, out of pocket, as the kids say. And you are sitting there trying to cover an open meeting at a public institution, and there are people there that are wanting to either cause some chaos. There's other people who want to make a comment. We don't mind them. We've not only have you not felt safe at all times. Our photographer has been approached in a I'm not going to say violent, I'm going to say aggressive way.
Yeah.
And this has been, we've had this not only here, we've had this issue in Owasso with Art Hadaway, the Owasso reporter editor there, having an issue with being confronted by parents in the parking lot after a meeting. So as I said, it just seems like that this is something that is gotten a little hyped up, but I assure you that we're going to be there every time. And again, I appreciate you, Lenzy, for taking, again, it's one thing to try to file a story on deadline. It's another one to try to file a story on deadline when you've got a parent coming up from behind you and getting in your personal space, and then having people say things under their breath and in front of your face continuously. I said, it just seems like things have been ratcheted up a little bit, and our attempt to put you in a safe place. And again, I appreciate the Tulsa Public School Board president and the superintendent taking the security concerns seriously. We asked for more security to be there, and they have responded. And some of that's been tapped down, but covering public education in 2023 it's not selling ice cream, is it?
It's not for the faint of heart by a long shot.
Yeah.
So.
Well, what is next? So we've got these three people that are up, these three additional candidates. We got still some of the candidates from the old school. So what's next here?
So what's next? Well, Tulsa Public, like everybody else, is out on spring break the week of the 13th. The board has a regularly scheduled meeting on the 20th. And this will come back before the board yet again, making it fourth time's a charm, I guess, to consider an appointment. Because it is at a regular meeting and it will be on the action agenda, there will be another opportunity for public comment. So District 2 folks will be able to weigh in yet again on the carryover candidates, the three new folks. If somebody cannot get the 4 votes needed to be appointed, the board has until that following Friday. The 60-day clock runs out on March 24th. After that, if that seat is still vacant, then legally the board can call for a special election. If they do call for a special election, the earliest that election could be held is mid-June.
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 Well, because you have to allow time for candidates to file with the Tulsa County Election Board. You have to allow time for folks to register to vote. because special election, you have to allow for time for absentee ballot requests. If there are more than 2 candidates, then that means the potential for a runoff being needed. That runoff would not be until September. So you would potentially have a seat vacant for up to 9 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those elections are not done for free. TPS would have to pay to hold those elections. And that would be in the ballpark of approximately $33,000 to $35,000 just for the June election. If they need a runoff, double that figure.
Yeah.
Because of the elections.
And again, one of the things that, that this 3-3 tie, you've definitely, it seems to be the same 3 and the same 3, right? So we've got
usually,
3.
Yeah.
We've got 3 who are saying yes to things many times, with 3 saying no. And then we've got the other 3 saying yes and the other 3 saying no. So it definitely seems like there is a split here. And again, this board was designed for 7 members.
Yes.
To stop the 3-3 madness that can be created. Now, again, whatever, if you've got your opinions of why you're voting no, and you've got your opinions, that's their job, right? But again, another, going on through the summer of meetings, there could be 3-3 madness happening for months going forward.
I mean, there are some pretty basic things that still have, for example, Tulsa Public Schools has not set its academic calendar yet for 23-24. That could potentially, there's the potential for that to be held up in a 3-3 tie, particularly given that they're considering adjusting their bell schedule for next year. There are prom venues that haven't been approved, which I know that sounds pretty small potatoes, but that's still a basic responsibility of the board to approve prom venue contracts. And then there's the big ticket items, teacher contracts and paying the utilities, things like that.
Right. Well, this is where, again, I say sometimes people forget what it is that we do here. And what we do here is we try to work this stuff out. We try to put this stuff out and let you know, if you're a TPS parent, if you're a TPS, if your taxpayer money goes to TPS, if you own a home in Tulsa, if you pay state taxes, your money, this is your money. And we try to report on what they're doing with your money and how they're spending it. And again, it's not an easy job to be a school board member. Remind everyone all the amazing, incredible perks of being a school board member. How much money do you make being a school board member? How many millions is it?
I believe it is a whopping $25 per month. It's either per month or per meeting. It's dollar bills,
But again, I would say, and you would probably agree with me, that it's one of the most important jobs in a community is that school board.
Potentially, yes.
Because you're deciding on a lot of things. And again, if we don't get our schools right, we don't get a lot of other things right. And TPS has a host of issues, like every single school system in Oklahoma being underfunded for, not even back to 2000s funding levels in some cases. And so, well, Lenzy, thank you for catching us up on this. As I said, what we try to do on this podcast is talk to the reporters and photographers working at the Tulsa World, working on the biggest stories. This is a story that I think I counted 15 stories you've written on this topic so far.
Something like that, yeah.
and so we wanted to kind of take a moment, look at this before this next meeting, and let people know if they've not been in tune with this story. I'll put some links to the latest stories in the show notes so they can catch up. But if you're in TPS or you're a Tulsa taxpayer, this is a story that you should care about. Lenzy, thank you for taking the time, and we will catch up when all this gets resolved. We'll come back around and do a debrief from there.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Well, thank you for this is, again, the Newsroom podcast for the Tulsa World. We got about 8 other podcasts, everything from OU and OSU, TU athletics. We've got the Opinion podcast with Jenny Graham, our editorials editor. If you haven't caught that, that's another one that you should check in with. She does some really good interviews with newsmakers and had some really popular, had some of the most popular, most downloads of any podcast we've offered lately. We also have the Scene podcast, where the guys over in Scene get together and talk about the biggest things going on in arts and entertainment. So we've got a nice menu of podcasts to look at. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify. And again, thank you for listening to this. We'll be back with another one here pretty soon. Thanks, Lenzy.
Thank you.